Yo, what's good, everyone? It's CAMEone from Hijo De Ramon Music Library, and we're back with another sample breakdown. I just released a new pack that's a limited release. It's called Suenos, and that translates to dreams in English. And this pack is a limited release. There's only 100 copies, or at least upon release, there was 100 copies. Now I think we're down to 30 or 29 at the time of this recording. So there's still time to grab a copy. But yeah, this is just my latest body of work. It's like a mixture of obscure synthesizer, dreamscapes, atmospheric shit, jazz fusion with the Rhodes and bass, and jazzy drums, dark and grimy shit. With like that Griselda gutter shit, So it's a pretty versatile sample pack. And yeah, I wasn't gonna do previews when I dropped it, but I decided to share 3 snippets of some of the samples that are inside the pack, just to kind of keep you guys, or to make you more comfortable with grabbing a copy, because I know some people like to hear the stuff before they buy it. And it just helps, building up that confidence, and just to make sure that, you are buying what you're looking for. And I'm sure what's inside this pack is exactly what you guys need. I'm really proud of this body of work, and I'm really excited to share it with you guys. So let's get right into it. So this sample is a very synthesizer heavy sample. I think I used the Prophet 6, the OB6, a little bit of the Rev 2, and the Fender Rhodes, and my voice to create this composition. This was one of the last samples that I made for the pack. It was super last minute. But the idea came to me and I went with it, and it's inspired by, Brood Music Library, KPM sound and stuff. Just classic library stuff from like the 70s and 80s, heavy synthesizer, melodic, kind of dreamy, but still has like that grimy overtone. So yeah, we can start with the first piece, which was the Prophet 6. Provided the kind of like the foundation. It's like a bass art that rides out through the entire sample. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. And for a lot of these sounds, I really didn't do much processing except for very basic reverb, delay, some of the stuff you've seen in my previous breakdown. So there's no new tricks here, just kind of exercising and practicing a lot of those, processing tips that I provided in previous episodes. So there's, there might be a few things I'll share later on in the video. I'll show you what's on my master channel on how I brought this sample to life. So there's that gem. But for the most part, there's not much effects or like hidden secrets in the channels themselves. So it's more just straight analog sounds coming from these synthesizers. So that was the first piece. And then the Prophet 6 again provided the brass hits. I'll play that for you. Pretty straightforward. So these two together was pretty much the initial idea. Ended up playing this at the same time, actually, on the Prophet 6, with the bass notes on the left hand and the chords on the right. And I had that idea going, and I decided to separate them when I recorded it, just so I had maximum flexibility. And then it was able to be a stem, separate stems when I exported it. The next piece was, I added bass, but it doesn't come in until maybe like right before half of the sample goes. But I'll play the bass for you. It's from the OB6. So yeah, with that sound, it's just a very fat sounding bass sound from the OB6. And as I was playing it, I played with the cutoff to kind of give it a little bit more of life than just a stale synth bass. So it kind of like morphed and modulated as it, played through its, it made it sound more live and real rather than just a single hit. I can play the previous or put these three together. You guys can hear what it sounds so far. So it's coming together. And then for this one, I did a bunch of different leads. These all come from the Prophet 6 and the OB6. And they're all essentially kind of playing like their own unique pieces and a lot of layering. This pretty much could have been a single layer, but I decided to separate everything because I played them at separate times. Again, for flexibility, for mixing purposes. So yeah, I can kind of go through and play the first part that comes in, which is this lead right here. So with that, it's kind of supporting what the brass pads here were playing. And then you can kind of hear it again with these two extra stems of leads. They kind of just highlight what's going on with those brass hits. You kind of hear it in the background, but it kind of adds a little bit of unique character when those brass pads actually come in. Just more texture than just the original sound by itself. There's another section. You can kind of get where I'm going here. Let's open up all these other channels. And then I did add from the Prophet 6 kind of like a free sounding lead sound that was just kind of spacey and added kind of like texture in the background. Didn't really play much of anything, or it's playing something obviously, but it's just more for background filler and to give it more like that spacey human vibe. So it's just kind of everywhere, but it adds a little bit of ear candy in the background when you hear the sample. You can play what that sounds like together. Kind of get what I'm talking about. Let's see what else we got. Oh, there's one, this OB6 ARP that I added. And again, it just kind of highlights what's going on with the main brass pads, like those hits. And they come in every once in a while. It just adds to like that build up. You kind of see how it starts out with like very bare minimum stuff here, and it builds up, and then eventually the vocals come in, which is this part. And I added these vocals at the very last moment because I felt like it needed just one more piece, and I didn't want it to be another synthesizer sound. I want it to be just something weird, and what's more weird than a human voice? This was a very simple recording, but I recorded it about 8 times and then I layered it. And 4 of those recordings I pitched up and 1 I pitched down. So it's a combination of some of the same sound, just pitched up an octave and pitched down an octave to kind of give it a more of like a chorus vibe or like a choir vibe. I'll play it all together. All right, right here. So yeah, and this the tempo was 119 for this, and when I add vocals, it's always interesting to see what it to see what it sounds like when you speed it up or slow it down. I feel like it becomes very inspiring, or like it kind of gets new life when you play with the sample, with the pitch and the tempo and stuff. So I'm always interested to see what vocals sound like once you mess with the BPM and the tempo. And in this case, it actually sounded crazy when I sped it up and added drums to it. So for the turnaround, I added the Fender Rhodes because it has like this da 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 that comes in. It's right here. And that's present in the brass pads here. And just to kind of like, again, to highlight that or to make it stand out a bit more, to give it more body, I added the Rhodes underneath that. It just helped. And then somewhere in the process, to help me come up, I think, with like a melody, I had drums in here, and then I stripped everything and I kept the cymbals because I felt like it added a little bit of like that vintage sound with just having like a synthesized cymbal sound right out through the entire sample. And this was made in the Prophet 6 using high resonance and noise. And with the built-in effects, I think I ended up using the spring reverb and I think chorus. And I took out a little bit of the low end. And it left me with a really interesting synth sound, or like a drum sound. And it worked. And that's pretty much it. Again, it's pretty straightforward. All the layers are here. It's got enough here to work with to chop up or to loop. And yeah, I'll play it all together for you so you can see what it sounds like. There you have it. One special moment here is what's on the master channel. And for this specific sample, it changes for a lot of the different samples, but for the majority of the samples from this latest pack, I use this chain. I don't know what made me use this chain, but I just ended up using these plugins. I liked the way that it sounded. So I can kind of go through my process on how I guess master or like mix these samples down. First start out with EQ, and lately I've been using the virtual mix rack from Slate Digital, and I use the FGN. I brought in some of the highs, a little bit of the mids, and beefed up the low end. And then they got like this little like drive knob or like a preamp or something here that it just adds like grit to the sample. And then Isotope Ozone 7 Imager to widen things up. Otherwise, everything tends to sound kind of not mono, but really in the middle and not kind of dull. And this kind of brightens things up, shoots things out. So yeah, you kind of see my settings here. And then right in the middle, I use the T-Rex Tape Machine 440. You see my settings. To be honest, I think I used a preset, the analog dimension. It just worked, and I think I adjusted the input and the output a little bit, but it added a nice tape sound. The EQ, I think I used this to bring things down a little bit, and then the cherry on top was the Slate Digital compressor and limiter. Very sparingly. Like, I wasn't going too crazy with using this. I think I used the preset, the mastering comp, just to kind of glue things together, and a little bit of gain to bring the volume back. And I'll play it for you, or I'll play a section for you without it, and then with it, and you can tell me if you hear a difference. I'm gonna turn things on. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys found this entertaining. If you guys are interested in getting this sample and 9 others, look in the link in my bio to go to my store to grab a copy of Suenos. It's a limited edition sample pack, only 100 copies with, I think it's like a 35 or 30 copies available as of right now of this recording. So act fast, get a copy, because once it's sold out, it will no longer be available and it's gone forever. So yeah. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I hope you guys learned a little bit. Stay tuned for the next one.